Welcome to Mixing Up Midlife, the weekly podcast for women in their 50s and beyond who want to explore this incredible age by being more adventurous and more curious.
And reading more.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Melissa. And I stepped on your intro there.
That's all right. You can step on that intro all you want.
Today we are talking about reading, but more specifically, we are talking about this genre that supposedly is a new genre, but Terry tells me that it's not, and she's been reading it since day one, and that is Romantasy.
Romantasy. Yeah, it didn't have a name.
Yeah, it makes sense that it has this name, and I don't know why it's a big buzzword now, but I'm hearing it all over, and you tell me, oh, yeah, that's old stuff.
It is old stuff. So I have been reading Romantasy specifically probably since mid-2000s, if not earlier than that, and it just didn't have that name. Now that social media exists and BookTok is BookTok.
Particularly BookTok, I hear, is what has created this wave of excitement for Romantasy.
It is. And I think that's great. You know, you think of romance novels and you think of bodice rippers or whatever. And yes, it's that. But Romantasy is a combination of the spicy love storyline.
I love that word, spicy. I cannot hear Romantasy discussed without how spicy is it.
Right. I actually like the term spicy versus smut. You know, smut has a negative, raunchy. I mean, it could be all of those things, but spicy has a much better connotation than smut
more
or
fun.
Raunchy. It does. And I think that also speaks to the generation of people who are reading these things. They're not negging on sex, which is really something that when we grew up, Melissa, you know, it wasn't sex positive. It did not exist. That was still like something that you kept to yourself.
And those, what they called bodice rippers or romantic fantasy novels, were things you kind of read them hiding. Like you would take them on the public transportation to read them.
I remember some people used to take off the covers and put them into a hardcover of something like more heady.
Yeah, a Dickens novel.
Right. Yes, exactly. Tolstoy. Literature. And here's why I think actually maybe you have never really been into Romantasy is you've always been into the words and the pictures that they paint and to
the
be
themes and
the themes. Well, the themes are still there, at least in the things that I've been reading. The themes are still there. They're a little obvious, the themes. Sometimes, you know, it's like good and evil. Yes. There's a lot of mythology, which I've always loved. Romantasy can have a base in mythology, folklore, things like that, which
some of those I liked. Now, tell me the difference between Romantasy and, say, the Twilight series.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I think the Twilight series is Romantasy in my head, except the spicy level. Twilight, it was a very, all ages could read it. It was, I feel like, probably the first thing that really was for young and old.
Right. My daughter was reading them as a middle school student, and I was reading them as well.
And you weren't embarrassed to do that, as opposed to like Anne Rice novels. If you've ever read
And I never read Anne Rice. She had definitely a big following, though.
Oh, God,
and that would be Romantasy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's Romantasy. That's super spicy Romantasy.
It was. Okay.
So, and I read every single Anne Rice that ever came out. Vampire Lestat, all of it. So I don't know why it's such a big term now, other than, I think, social media.
Social media probably has brought it into the forefront. And I also think two things I'm thinking about this. And one is, yes, the social media gives an aura of we're all in this together. We're all excited for the release of the sequel to Fourth Wing or whatever. That's Fourth Wing is the one that keeps coming up. I saw this little video clip of everyone's camping out at the bookstore waiting for it to come out. The only other time I remember things like that happening is the Harry Potter books. We were just talking about Twilight. So
absolutely. I remember taking my daughter to the bookstore for the midnight release of one of the Twilight series.
I feel like it's people like doing this as being part of a group that's involved in this. And social media really helps build up that group feeling.
I think that's true.
My other theory is that they talk about it as the ultimate escapism.
Absolutely.
And don't you think a lot of people right now are looking to escape from the real world?
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm always looking to escape from the real world, which is probably why I've always been into this genre. Always. Mm-hmm. I love it. It is not something that is possible. It doesn't exist.
Right. And it has nothing to do with anything that could, happen in your daily life. You could be affected. I mean, there's times that I would love reading or watching shows that maybe had some type of genre about
historical fiction aspect.
Not even historical fiction, but present day. Like this could happen in whatever is going on in the world. Right now, I am just running away from anything that could happen because
it all seems like it could happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's too real right now. So
100%.
I totally understand wanting to escape into a world that could never happen, but could enjoy and fully immerse yourself in.
Your favorite books growing up were The Lion, the Witch, and
isn't that funny?
Wardrobe,
yeah,
right?
The C.S. Lewis. I love them.
So that was like the Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
And that world that gives you comfort, that has the themes of what you need as a young person growing up to see that there's good in the world. It has these moral themes to it. But now it's taken further. It's got that romance. You're an adult now. I looked back in my Kindle library, and one of my first Kindle downloads was the House of Night series. And I'm trying to remember, it was PC Cast and Kristen Cast, a mother and daughter team writing
them?
These books together. And I just loved them. It was like about a real person who then got caught up in this magic world and good battling evil. I remember nothing else about it. And I do remember being embarrassed reading it.
Okay.
But
we wouldn't be now, probably, because that's...
No. And I might go back and reread, but I loved this
Yeah, but still in your Kindle, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so right now in my Kindle, I know you mentioned Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I'm not reading those yet. I have heard that those are great entry into Romantasy. However, what I've been reading is the other really big Romantasy author, Sarah J. Maas, Maas.
Okay.
And she's written the Court of Thorn and Roses series. I think there's 5 books in it. Court of Thorn and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and it's Romantasy, full-on Romantasy.
So tell me, does Romantasy always have dragons or something? Like, what is Court? What do they have?
A Court of Thorn and Roses?
Yeah.
Court of Thorn and Roses, the first one is very Beauty and the Beast. When I was reading it, I was like, this is Beauty and the Beast. It's set in not a real
Beauty
world.
And the Beast.
Yeah, it's set in not a real world. Even that one wasn't that spicy.
Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Well, Beauty and the Beast also has some questionable themes when you think about it.
Well, exactly.
Basically kidnapping and falling in love. What is that?
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah. But what I really like about Sarah and how she's writing this. And maybe it's contrived, but I really like that it's gender inclusive, women in power, choice. And I appreciate that she's at least trying to do that.
Yeah, to me, this seems like, well, without the fantasy part of romantasy, the romantic part, or, you know, what were used to be romance novels, are
was
all
never about choice.
Politically incorrect now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And not about choice. And
no.
It was bodice ripping, literally is rape.
It was rape. Exactly. So I like that about her, and it should be interesting to go back to read the PC Cast thing and see where they're at with that, because I honestly don't remember. But I love the genre. I find it just takes me completely out of my head so that I don't worry about these things.
Maybe I need to try it.
I would say start with A Court of Thorn and Roses. Just start with that.
Well,
the second
I
one,
wonder if it's any easier to get from the Libby Library.
It's not.
Damn.
No, it's not, because I tried all of them. I wonder, can I share my Kindle with you or no? Can I share a book with you for free?
I don't know. With Audible, I know you can do once in a while or something, but I don't know much about Kindle.
I love doing companion, read, listen.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about this before. The narrator has to be good, has to be excellent. One of my favorite narrators started the narration, and I really like her. And then it switched to somebody else, and I liked her even better. This last one was somebody insufferable, and I couldn't. So I'm just straight on reading it, but I'm already in the series, so I already have an interest in it. But sometimes if it's something I have difficulty getting into, if I'm just listening sort of passively, then it helps me get into the reading. Because reading, it's hard for me to sit down and actually spend that time.
It's hard for me to, well, I think we talked about this numerous times, that it's hard for me to just figure out a time to do it. You have to really plan to read, which is not great.
And not feel guilty about it either. Because I could spend an entire day just sitting there and reading.
Which is why I want a book that will completely make me... I just remember being a kid and sneaking away from the dinner table or when we had company to just run back and... because I wanted to read the next chapter of my book.
I don't think this will do it.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter books did that for me. I couldn't put those down.
I'm almost ready to reread something like that.
I love the Harry Potter books. All right. So
anyway,
did this actually explain it a little bit for you? Because I'm not an expert. You know that, right? Like I don't.
No, I know. Well, you aren't an expert, but you are, because you are an avid and have been
always
avid reader of them for years and years.
Yeah.
So I think you have explained to me what they are, how to try it out, and the benefits of doing it, which is what I wanted to know. And I wanted to know why the hype. And I don't think you can explain that except
I do think
except for BookTok.
BookTok. I think BookTok is solely responsible for having this sort of regeneration of this particular genre, and good. On BookTok, there's a couple of older authors as well who are trying to get seen. And they also are doing romantasy, or it's more witchy stuff. I tried. The writing was not my favorite. So I feel bad about that.
That's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
Romantasy can be mythological. It can be dragons and dungeons or whatever.
That's a game.
What?
Which I've never played, weirdly.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? I've actually listened. This is really weird. Let me just finish my other thought.
Okay.
Though. Which kind of theme do you like the best? Like, if you hear that it's going to be dragons, does that attract you?
No, absolutely not.
Witches, like you seem to like the witches thing.
I like witches. I generally like witches. Dragons are not my thing. Which is why I haven't read Fourth Wing.
Okay.
Because it's like dragons. Fairies. Yeah, I like fairies.
Okay.
I like fairy lore. people who can fly? Absolutely, sure. Mythological creatures? Yes. Odyssey-like trials, Greek mythology, love. Roman mythology, into. But dragons have never been my thing. I'll try to read Fourth Wing just because everybody's talking about it. But I'd like to find something different now. I answered your questions mostly? Yeah?
I think you did answer my questions.
Right.
I'm going to find probably the one you recommended and find a time to do it.
It's important to spend time with yourself anyway. And you had started off the year talking about reading for 30 minutes in the morning. Obviously, that's not happening anymore.
I read 30 minutes last night by Book Club book. Sweetness of Water is the book we're reading right now. I'm only on chapter 2.
Oh, okay.
It's historical fiction.
Is it older?
It's not new. But the book, did I talk about the book we read before that, Hamnet?
You did.
Okay. I would really recommend that. And that's totally not a book I would have picked up and said, boy, I want to read this book about the plague. Anyway, I recommend it.
Great.
But what else people are going crazy for? When we were talking about the group dynamic,
groupthink
for romantasy and that kind of
that energy
that people get.
Yeah.
What is the other thing you think of when you think of people like that?
Taylor Swift.
Exactly. It's like the same thing. You're just waiting for that next album. You're waiting for the clue that something's going to happen. You all get together and you get on social media and talk about it. And I am not part of this whatsoever.
No. Yeah. No,
Nor do I really want to be.
Although, what she does, these Easter eggs that she plans out. She's a puzzle master.
Yeah.
So I love that about her. However, I asked you before we started this, I said, do you think she's seen her day? Because she's so overexposed right now. She's everywhere. She's with all about the NFL, and we can get into that in our next little bit. But she was recently
managed the whole thing. She is the reason they are in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's insane. People are absolute nut jobs. But the Grammys, I don't watch award shows. I find them insanely boring.
Do you know that award show, I heard someone talk about it, is 3 hours and 35 minutes?
That's insane.
Who would sit and watch that?
I like the fashion.
I like hearing about it on YouTube the next day.
That's what I prefer. I prefer to get my clips. It's like SNL. We don't watch SNL anymore. We can listen to the clips and we don't have to suffer through the bad skits or the weirdly bad musical performance, which almost always happens to really good musicians. In any case, okay, so Taylor Swift, the Grammys.
Yeah.
Lots of talk.
Yes. It was an award show. It was about getting an award, and she chose to use it to announce her next album. It's just another medium for her to promote herself. And again, more power to her.
Does she actually need it, though?
She doesn't need it at all. And she didn't need Album of the Year for the 4th time either. But who am I to say?
Good for her. What I heard was she was very ungracious in her acceptance speech because she actually promoted her new album.
Yeah, it was thanks for the award. But here's the real news.
Right. I think Taylor Swift is definitely overexposed. However, I will be watching the Super Bowl.
To watch her?
Kind of.
Oh, reality comes out.
Kind of. I always like the commercials, but the commercials you usually can see now, right? You can see them
again, and there'll be clips, and they'll be showing them.
So it's not as special as it used to be when you had to watch it live. I don't dislike Usher, but I don't care about Usher.
Oh, is that who's even performing? I didn't even know that.
It's not about the halftime for me. I'm never really into music, but I want to see the interactions of what Taylor's doing. I don't really care who wins. And I want 2 things. I want to see the fashion. Have you noticed anything on social where you'll see Taylor was wearing at one thing this really puffy coat? Yeah. Which is designed by a 49ers wife. She's amazing. I watch her on TikTok.
Not a 49ers wife. Is it a 49ers wife? That's the opposing team.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was someone on the Chiefs that made it because it was a Chiefs jacket.
No. She does all sorts of, she did it for Taylor and for Brittany Mahomes. She did it for
I thought it was
Shawn
just
Johnson.
Someone who did it for her own team.
No.
So cool.
So cool. She is so interesting. Kristen, and I can't pronounce it's a Polish last name. I can't pronounce it. Mm-hmm. She'll show how she's designing these things on TikTok. Really cool.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. That's neat.
I think it's really cool. It's upcycling. So I'll watch.
I like that.
See what she's wearing. I don't know that Taylor Swift will be wearing one of her designs.
That's what I'm saying. Would they really be promoting someone on the other team?
Well,
I mean, women are very supportive these days.
Girl group. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I do know they will be dissecting to the minuscule left pinky ring what Taylor Swift is wearing.
Right.
Because they always do.
And it's going to be with intention, whatever she wears.
Exactly. I am also watching the Super Bowl. And I guess I'm rooting for the Chiefs only because I watched one of my documentary shows.
Oh, yeah?
And that was called Quarterback. Okay. Have you heard of that? I think it was Netflix.
No.
It followed 3, I think, quarterbacks and just their daily life. And, I love the behind the scenes, whether it's a show, and I'll talk about the other one in a minute, or this. And it followed Mahomes. It followed Kirk Cousins, and I can't remember the name of the other guy that it followed. But just really the day-to-day, their behind-the-scenes life. Now I know all about Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes, and I know that there's controversy, and people are not too nice to her, but I don't understand that at all, at least from this show.
Supposedly it's because she did a couple of things, like they won the Super Bowl, I think, and she sprayed champagne on the people below her. I
pretty
don't know
much
enough.
Watched her go through 9 months of pregnancy and give birth and everything. So I feel like she's
cool.
Like my inner circle right now.
Okay,
I feel like I know Mahomes as a quarterback as well. And he's like this hyper kid, basically, to me. Just watching him. And because they actually go through the whole season and he is mic'd up. And I heard this in like a football game last year. I'm like, why do he's mic'd up during the game so you can hear everything he's saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when he's in the huddle, when he's like trash talking to the other guy.
Really?
But he is just constantly hyping people all the time. And I think
so cute.
all of them have to do that. You're the quarterback, you're the leader, but you can forget you're on mic sometime and the real personality could come out. So I think
God help me.
I feel like I know him pretty intimately from this show. So I guess that's why I will root for them.
Okay. I like that. The other thing I like about Super Bowl games is the food. I don't think we're doing anything, but I did tell my husband, I was like, we're not doing anything for my birthday. That is absolutely my choice. I don't want a party. My family's coming home, so we'll go out to dinner and that'll be great. I don't really need a party.
Are you talking about on your birthday? Not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even the weekend before or after. But I was saying, we're not doing anything because the kids are coming home the weekend before my birthday. Why don't we have people over for the Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. And he's like, because the house looks like crap because of the puppy. But my favorite thing about the Super Bowl is the food and the people and just laughing. So
yeah, and I don't think I'm getting that this year. But I do like that. I still remember seeing the Super Bowl with your family when we were in North Carolina.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's for my mom's funeral. Wow. That was fun, actually, wasn't it?
That was fun. I like seeing it with a group of people, and we haven't done that in a while. Part of it is just, it's late in the evening.
Oh, God, yeah. I want to go to bed by 9 o'clock. I don't have a lot of stamina.
Enough about, this is not a Super Bowl podcast.
God, no, it's not a sports podcast. Wrapping up.
So I finished the quarterback.
Yeah.
And it was completely coincidental. I just landed on it and I wasn't even realizing that they could be in the Super Bowl again. I am also watching another documentary. You know me.
You and your docs.
I don't know what it is, why I love watching behind the scenes and watching things people build into the final day, whether it's a football game or whether it's, getting to know the people. And there is a documentary, it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Dance Life, and it's about an Australian dance company or school. And it's the 4th year of these kids. And at the end, they have their big show, which is where they get agents or
their showcase. Uh-huh.
Yeah, their showcase show. And it was just following 4 or 5 students from that. And again, when I talk about reality shows, it's not the manufactured drama that I like. It's something that's real natural. Like one of them got injured. Like they showed her basically breaking her foot. It was horrible. Like they actually cut.
Good.
It went to kind of a black screen. But
okay.
then her, she was actually made it to the final show. Oops, spoiler alert. But anyway, no one's going to watch this except me. Who am I saying?
That's not true. You don't know. You don't know.
But I love it. And I love these kids who are just so serious about their craft. And they just think the world's, on a platter for them at the end, that all they need is to do this perfect show. And they are absolutely amazing dancers. And the dance coach or teacher, she's young, she's vibrant, she's supportive, but she's tough and just the greatest kind of person you want to watch. So I think it's a really good show.
That is a highly recommended from you then.
Yes.
I have nothing new to add to that. And I think we're going to wrap it up here. That is it for us this week. We will see you next week.
We will. I'll be here.
Just a blank screen. I won't be.
Like the end of our last show or after this. You have to show that as a clip.
Whoops.
Terry hurt her back and was lying on the floor, and we continued to record a little bit with me talking to a blank screen.
That's pretty funny.
Anyway.
All right. As always, find us on social, Mixing Up Midlife, and visit us on our website, mixingupmidlife.com. We would love to hear from you wherever you would like to leave us a message. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yes?
Let me match my head to your head.
Good. Let's just pick one.
What were we talking about before?
Totally lost that train of thought.
That's what happens.
Mahomes.
Oh,
was I saying?
It sounded like Mahomes.
Oh, whatever. Patrick.